Hello and welcome to Module 1 and welcome again to ASCII 202. This video is going to be more specific on Module 1 and you earlier watched the Welcome to ASCII 202 video, which kind of was a generic overview and a general overview of the class itself. And now specifically we're going to talk to Module 1, specifically the assignment at the end of Module 1, which is going to be a presentation assignment. Like I said earlier, your assignments are going to alternate from presentation assignments to writing assignments, and this week we're going to specifically focus in on what the expectations are for a presentation assignment. Before we get into Module 1 specifically, let's talk about the information tabs that you started for this class. So first off, when you first started, it launched you into the important information tab, which just gave you some important information on the class, and then it launched you into the instructor contact information and bio and policies. So again, I'm open for any feedback from any of you or any questions that any of you may have. So first, try by email. If you can't get a hold of me through there, which I will check, I usually check my email every day, but I will never go greater than 48 hours without checking my email. So you can expect a email response back within 48 hours. If it's something that's pressing or important, please feel free to utilize my cell phone, so you can call it or text it. And especially if it's something on a Sunday where you're really caught up on something and you need something quickly, texting me is going to be by far the fastest way to do that. But other than that, I prefer everything to be done through Canvas, through the Canvas notification system. Okay, please review my policies as well, so specifically on late work, and then if there's something that's going on where something is happening in your life where you need to delay something, please reach out to me before that becomes a problem and not after there's issues. Next, you're going to send an email to me. So if you haven't done it already, send an email to me through Canvas, so you can go over to this area over here in Canvas. This is your inbox, and you can compose an email to any of the students or to me through there or through the email system itself, but I prefer you to message me through Canvas. That's going to be the best way to do that. Academic resources is going to give you a bunch of information and resources to help you out academically. Success Toolkit is exactly that. There's a couple tools in there, some tools to success there, and then there's some information tab on the e-union. Okay, course-specific information. This can be very important, okay? So the online office is somewhere where you can ask questions that you think other students can benefit from, because they can all see that. And then if I feel like there's a topic that needs to be brought to everybody's attention, I will typically post that. I'll take it from the online office and then bring it into an announcements tab. So please check your announcements regularly, because that's where your most pressing information from me is going to be located. Next is going to be Instructor's Corner discussion area. So this some of the modules here, there's about 4 or 5 modules within this course that have an Instructor's Corner specific information, and that's just kind of some extra stuff that I can discuss with you. But it also opens up a great discussion for any of you to provide feedback through your own experiences, or if you have questions about the class or about anything in aviation, feel free to reach out to me through there, and it's a great place we can all have some great discussion for the aviation industry. It's also a great place if you're interested on jobs and you think students in the class can help you out. It's a great place to connect with them as well. Student Lounge is exactly that for students only. I rarely peek in there, but it's a great place for you guys to communicate through each other. Here's a great place to figure out how to construct your blog. Most of you are already familiar with how to create blogs on within courses there, so that's just going to be some more information on that. Okay, this is going to be the important part for your assignments. So remember, there's presentation assignments and writing assignments. So your presentation assignments, I prefer to be in PowerPoint. It's going to be the easiest method possible, but within that, it's going to show you how to create the audio and as well as creating that assignment itself. And you can just submit that raw PowerPoint assignment within Canvas, and I will get that, and that's typically the easiest way for me to grade. Next, I'm going to talk about copyright and policy. So please cite your work, and then I know that it may be tempting sometimes to just copy and paste work and just throw that on there, but keep in mind that the Turnitin application will find word for word and copyrighted information. So if you cite something in a text from another text, please be sure that you cite it appropriately and utilize it appropriately. So specifically for citations, I need your own original idea that's supported by citations, not a paper that is written that's just a regurgitation of citations. Next is some information on the Flight Safety Foundation, and then next is the APA sample template for students. That we'll get a lot more into next week when you get to your first writing assignment. Okay, up to Module 1, this is working in the aviation industry. So the overview and objectives for Module 1 is we're going to be talking about some different jobs within aviation. So the objectives for here is going to be explain the qualifying criteria needed to enter into the workforce as an aviation professional. And that's anything from pilots to mechanics to flight attendants to dispatchers to management, anything you can think of within the aviation industry. We're going to, the next objective is going to argue the importance of ethical behavior for personnel working within the aviation industry. And then we're going to talk about explain the privileges associated with holding a specific aviation certificate. So think about air transport pilot certificate, or think about your A&P certificate or your dispatcher license, any of those types of licenses. What are the privileges that are associated with holding that certificate? And then we're going to differentiate between the qualification certifications and limitations of different aspects of aviation and different jobs within aviation. So pilots, mechanics, avionics, dispatch, air traffic control, etc. So those are going to be the objectives for this module. Next up will be the introductions to blog here. And on this is a non-graded blog, but this is a great place to introduce yourself to me as well as your fellow students, and a great place to reference when you want to discuss and talk with other students on there. And I see some of you have already posted to that. Next up is going to be the instructor's corner. Then just going to be your readings and resources. So before we talk about readings and resources, I'd like to talk about the blog discussion and the assignments first, which is going to be your presentation assignment here. So let's talk about your presentation assignment first. So your presentation assignment is going to be due on Sunday, remember, by midnight Daytona Beach time, and this is the expectation for your presentation. So your presentation needs to be slides that you are talking to or talking about. Okay, so I don't need you to just read and regurgitate word for word what's on the slide, but I need you to talk as if you're talking to an audience. And granted, this is virtual, so I need you just to create a presentation kind of similar to what I'm doing right now. You don't necessarily have to have picture-in-picture, but you just need to have the audio of your own presentation that you are describing on your slide. And again, not reading it word for word. And design the slide smartly. So don't just have a picture that you're talking over, but have some very focused bullet points that get to the meat of what you're trying to say. For this specific assignment, you are going to take the role of a human resource manager, and then as that manager, you're going to be responsible for recruiting and hiring a qualified workforce. So for this assignment, you're going to be a human resources manager who's going to prepare a briefing to identify the necessary qualifications, certifications, and attributes of one of the following positions. So your human resource manager, you're going to pick one of the positions that you're going to be hiring for: a pilot, a maintenance technician, an avionics professional, a dispatcher, or an air traffic controller. And you can also throw a flight attendant in there as well if you'd like to. And if you have any other jobs specifically that you would like to talk to, just feel free to reach out, and then I can approve that. Usually it's not a problem at all. The presentation needs to be a minimum of 5 slides, but no more than 8 slides, not including the title slide or reference slide. So if you have a title slide and reference slide, it needs to be 7 slides, 5 slides of content with a title slide and a references slide. And remember to cite your references in APA format, which is the only book that we have for this class. It must include embedded audio, and please remember to include your speaker's notes. So it can either be a word for word, exactly what you plan on saying, as in a script or a transcript, or it can just be a couple bulleted notes that you would use as if you were presenting this to an audience live. So keep in mind that you have to have these items within your discussion. So I like to think of it as each bullet would probably represent a slide within your presentation, or something you at least need to talk to or discuss. You need to identify the job description that for the position that you're discussing. Then explain the criteria needed for that position. Then explain the privileges of certification of this position. So keep in mind that all of those positions that were just mentioned up top there, those are all certified positions that require an FAA certification. So you need to look into what that certification entails and discuss it within the context of this presentation when you are discussing the privileges and certification of the position. And then you're going to defend the importance of minimum qualifications or certification standard for the position. So the text will and the readings will talk more about this, and we'll talk about this here in just a moment, but you're going to think about what do the FARs say, the Federal Aviation Regulations say about the privileges and certifications of this position. And then make sure you include a reference slide there. So that is going to be your presentation assignment for this week. Okay, so let's talk about the readings and resources that you have available to you to complete this assignment. First is going to be the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. This is going to be a common theme for almost every single module. We're going to be doing chapters out of the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. This chapter 1 is going to be Introduction to Flying. So this is going to be just a very brief history of the federal certification program. So how FAA certifies aircrew and airmen, and what the impact of the Code of Federal Regulations are on airman qualifications and certification. Next is going to be the Electronic Code of Federal Regulations, Title 14, Chapter 1, Subpart D, Part 65. Okay, so that's just the fancy way of saying the governing documents for aviation is going to be the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 14, and then a bunch of stuff within there. There's going to be an entire module where we dive very deep into that, but I'll give you a couple tidbits right up front to help you with this assignment. And then next is going to be a flight attendant certificate of demonstrated proficiency, so you can kind of see how that certification process goes. Okay, specifically for this assignment within the Federal Code of Federal Regulations here. I'm going to just put this in right here. And here's certification for airmen other than flight crew members. Okay, so this is a great place to get information on air traffic control and then other positions there other than flight crew members. For flight crew members specifically, you're going to move to subpart D, I believe it is. Yep, there it is. Okay, so here is a Code of Federal Regulations. This is where you're going to find a lot more specific information on airman positions. So Part 61 is right here. So here's Part 61. You can click on that, and that's going to talk specifically on pilots. So we're talking about commercial pilots, air transport pilots. So if you're doing an airline, for example, and you're talking about pilots and you're looking for commercial airline transport pilots, this is where you would look under Part 61, and that's going to talk about the specific privileges as well as the requirements for that certificate. And then you can continue down through here. So here's flight navigators, flight engineers. There's medical standards. You don't need to go through that quite yet. And then we already talked about 65. So we're talking about airmen other than flight crew members. Okay, so you could think about your air traffic controllers in there. You have your maintenance in there as well. So here's the different subparts within Part 65. You have air traffic control tower operators, dispatchers, mechanics, repairmen, and parachute riggers in there. So again, this is a great resource to get your presentation assignment complete. For that. Finally, you're going to have a blog discussion at the end of this, which is going to be what does ethics in aviation mean to you? And I can see that we already have some postings on here, which is great. So here you're just going to give your own definition of ethics in aviation and create a good running discussion. So again, your initial post is worth 80% of this grade of your blog grade, and that is going to be due by Friday. No later than the end of the day Friday, Daytona Beach time. And then your responses are worth 20% of that grade. And those responses, you need at least 2. So you need to reply to at least 2 of those responses, or at least 2 to at least, to at least 2 other postings. And then try to keep a dialogue going with that. So I don't want necessarily yes, I agree, or no, I disagree. You can say yes, I agree, and then continue that dialogue there as well. So good scholarly discussion, and please be sure to cite your resources. So again, look forward to a great, excellent Module 1 this week. If you have any questions at all, especially as you're gearing up for this, please feel free to reach out and ask. If you have any issues with PowerPoint or getting your presentations in, please feel free to reach out and ask. And finally, please proofread your submission before you send it in, just to make sure you meet all the requirements and that your audio actually works. So again, look forward to a great week, and we'll talk to you at the end of the week.